Some more classic Sabbath for you, going back to their first record. This is Tony Iommi solo on the cut Warning. Alright, so let's break this down lick by lick. Here's how the solo starts. It starts with a classic Chuck Berry style bend. One more time, a little slower. And one more time, a little slower. One of the really cool things about Tony's solo here is that he reuses these materials, but just places them at different beats in the measure. Let me show you what I mean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Alright, so let's move on. Next lick, we're in measure 5 now. Slower. Alright, and in measure 6 we got this tricky high bend, which I'll break down for you now. Nice wide reach there. So you're bending this high G up to an A, hitting it again. Then without hearing too much of the release, jumping down to that D again. Practice that to get it smooth. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the 12th position just for a moment. Slower. Slower still. Continuing. So we're in the 10th position, but we're sliding down to the 8th for a moment. And getting back up to the 10th. Start this lick a little before the beat. So this really liquid flowing kind of vibe to it. Moving on. One more time. And again. And we got this lick here. Single notes. but then you're hitting these two, the G and the B string on the 10th fret. Do a little slide for some expression. One more time. That very last lick and a couple of licks earlier are going to show up again in the second half of this solo. The second half of the solo goes like this. So we're in 10th position. Slower. And again, a similar riff. So the first time I did that slide down, I was playing the G and the B string on the 10th fret. The second time I played it on the B and the E string. Now there's that high bend lick again. Unlike in measure 6 where it starts on the second beat, Tony brings it in on the 4th beat, displacing that whole phrase. Same lick as before, except it's in a different position. He's got to make up for the time that he lost. He lost a couple beats, right? He started on the 4th beat instead of the 2nd. So he kind of takes a splice out of the solo, jumps right into this. Slower. The rest of the solo is just like in the first half. A little different phrasing on the very last lick. On the first half of the solo he goes. The second half of the solo, he adds a little more spike to it. Hear the difference? You know, until recently I thought Warning was a Black Sabbath tune, and it is of course on their first record, but it was originally composed and recorded by the Ainsley Dunbar Retaliation in 1967. And I think, as a student of guitar, I think what I got out of comparing the two versions is how economic and tight Tony Iommi's ideas are if you compare his solo on Warning with the solo on the original Ainsley Dunbar version. Tony really takes a few sort of musical gems and he displaces them and he mutates them and morphs them and he adds his own thing to it. He comes up with a really tight, beautifully constructed solo, which, you know, if you like the music of Black Sabbath and the soloing style of Tony Iommi, I think you might enjoy my band, Dr. Nerve. And if I can think of a tune that might have a similar vibe to Warning, then what comes to mind is the tune Dr. Nerve off the first Dr. Nerve record. It sounds maybe a little bit like Sabbath meets Frank Zappa meets King Crimson or something like that. So check it out. Let's hear from you. Practice. Have fun. Take care.